Relch, and I'm from Mongolia. And here I have my colleague Dudu, and we're from Mongolia. So today it's going to be very informal because there are just a few of us. If I'm talking too fast, please let me know. So we're just going to go over the highlights of Mongolia very, very briefly because, as you know, as a one country, we have a lot of things that people could do at different points of the year. But we're going to focus on only a few of them today, okay? And if we have any questions, please stop me because this is an informal discussion, right? So feel free to stop me anytime. All right, so because I used to live in China, so I know sometimes Chinese people, or even all over the world, people get a little confused about Mongolia. So to begin with, Mongolia is an independent country located between Russia and China. So we are separate from Inner Mongolia. We used to be one country, but due to the historical events, we divided in early 20th century. So we gained our independence back from at the time from the Manchurian dynasty. I think that's what they call it. And then, but the Inner Mongolia stayed in China. So we're two separate. So Inner Mongolia is part of China while we are an independent country. We have only two neighbors. So in the north we have Russia, and to the south we have China. So that's us. We have a very small population in Mongolia, 5 million people in the whole country. So our land is pretty big. As you can see, we're the 19th biggest land in terms of territory in the world, but we have only 3.5 million people in there. And among that 3.5 million, 1.5 lives in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. So the capital is very, very crowded where we're from. And the rest of the country is basically empty. Like if you go drive out from the capital for half an hour, then you will be just out of nowhere, and there's no settlement. So that's and we have 20 different ethnic groups, and but majority is the Han people, where we are the majority. But we also have to the west, we have a lot of minorities in Mongolia. So this is one thing we wanted to mention. Okay, so today I just want to really briefly touch on what can we do in Mongolia? What makes Mongolia a unique place for us to travel? Not only because we're really close to China and Hong Kong, but in terms of activities, we can also do a lot of different things because, like I mentioned, we have a very vast, very big landscape, and we really rely heavily on the animal husbandry, so lifestyles, right? So in relation to that, we have things that you could do in Mongolia. So the top number one thing is horseback riding, because we have a lot of horses in Mongolia, and it is a very integral part of nomadic lifestyle. So horseback riding, you can do half an hour, 1 hour, or you can do multiple days. I know there is a challenge ride starting in Mongolia right now, and they are going to ride for 6 months. So you can do anywhere from half an hour to 6 months. So this challenge that they're doing is covering the whole country for 6 months. So horse riding, we try to include it in every tour that if the travelers are interested and if they want to just try it or physically they can do it, then we include it. Second one is camel riding. So we do have a lot of camels in the south because we have Gobi Desert in the south. And then we also have some desert in central Mongolia. So Mongolian camels, as you can see, have 2 humps instead of the 1 hump. So I never rode the 1 humped camel, but I've done the 2 humps, and it's very comfortable. I think it's quite comfortable. One day, because the camel lays down and then you sit on the camel, and when it gets up, that's a little bit scary. But after that, it's very comfortable because you're between the humps and then you just hold tight. So that's one thing. So in general, how we introduce Mongolia to people is Mongolia is very suitable for adventure travelers. You don't have to be hardcore adventure travelers, but you need just a little bit of that spirit, because Mongolia is not like Hong Kong. It's very developed. It's very modern. It's very convenient. In Mongolia, it's a little bit more, how do you say, rough. It's very undeveloped, you know. So you need to have the open mind to do these kind of things. For example, we can do a lot of hiking, trekking. Those kind of things are very suitable for Mongolia because that is what the country can actually offer for you. We cannot offer you the big nice buildings, very modern transportation system, but in trade-off for that, we can offer you the very beautiful and pristine, untouched landscape, and we still have nomadic people in Mongolia, so they do not have like the modern apartments that we live. They just have their own little yurt like this, and then whenever they need to move, they just pack it up in an hour or 2 hours, and then they're gone. And unless you know where they go next, you cannot find them. So sometimes on our trips, we would be bringing people to nomadic families, and we go there and we find they're gone. So we have to find another family. So that's also another interesting, unique characteristic of Mongolia is the nomadic culture. And then also we have a lot of photographic tours that people can do because those landscapes need to be photographed, right? These people and their portrait pictures of these nomadic people because they still have a very different lifestyle than even us in living in the city. We do not have the same lifestyle. So those are very interesting ones. And then we also have some colorful and big festivals. So for example, the Naadam Festival, I know that lady is going to the Naadam Festival. So we'll be talking about the Naadam Festival a little bit more. So this is Mongolia's biggest festival. It is celebrated in July throughout the country. So let's see. What is Naadam Festival? Have you guys heard about Naadam Festival? No. Okay. So basically, this is known as we celebrate our independence and we celebrate summer because summer is the only time the nomads can actually relax a bit because throughout the year, the rest of the year, it's so challenging, it's so cold, and you have so much to do. But during the summer, there's a very short 1 month where nomads and the livestock and everything can be relaxed a little bit and they can enjoy the nice weather. So firstly, we celebrate that nice time of the year, we celebrate our independence. And how do we celebrate it? Is with 3 manly games. So why is it called 3 manly games? Traditionally, no women were allowed to compete in it. That's why it was only for men to celebrate. And it has been celebrated for almost, as far as we know, it's close to 1,000 years. It has been celebrated into Mongolia. So what are the 3 manly games? Do you guys know? Any idea? Any guess? Okay, so the national one, we celebrate it on every settlement, every village, they celebrate their own Naadam festival. But the national one is the biggest one where you're gonna see. And it usually happens in July 10th to 13th every year. And it also is coincides with the Mongolia's Independence Day. So this I just covered. So the first one, the main event of the year is wrestling. So wrestling is still strictly male only. No woman is allowed to compete in wrestling. And then we have, depending on each year, it's either 512 or 1,024 wrestlers compete. So it's a big event. Like we have this stadium arena, and then you just start competing, and then like go. You do 2 days. The whole 2 days is wrestling, and in the end, you find one winner out of 1,000 people, and that person like receives a lot of honor, receives a lot of gifts, and then very big prizes. So these wrestlers, they practice whole year for this event. So we can see the opening round of the wrestling, because then there will be, it's divided by 2, so the first round is either 200 something match or 500 matches going on at the same time. Say what?
Are the wrestlers are full time?
Yeah. Yes.
They are paid. They are paid. And just like one of the
No, it's mostly professional wrestlers. Yes. Sometimes they do have like, especially I heard some people like go, they work in the police force or some other forces and they wrestle on the side. But like the big important or like the good wrestlers, they're always professionals. And when the winner is announced, they do have like a special kind of, not a performance, but like they have a unique costume of, it's called eagle dance. So they have to do that around the flag. So first sport is this. The second one, you guys probably have heard of it, is the horse race. So horse race, interesting thing is you can race girl or boy, but it's mostly children that races. Yes, because Mongolian horses are really small compared to Western horse. So the lighter the jockey is, the faster your horse will be. But they actually passed some laws that said if you're under 8 years old, you cannot race. Because they used to race like 4 or 5-year-old kids, and that's not very safe, right? But traditionally, it's always been very young children. Because Mongolians, they could ride horse before they can walk in the countryside. It is true. I've seen it. So, because even Mongolia has a very interesting saying is, you born on the horseback and you die on horseback. So it's that important. Mongolian horse culture is that important for Mongolians. So this is another one that the thing is, we have different age for the horses. So there are like 4 or 5 different horse races. Again, this is the event for horse race, the most important event. And if you win it, then if your horse wins it, then that's like the very big family, and it's a very big thing. Third one is archery. Yeah. So we know this woman can also compete in archery, and Mongolian archery is. I don't really know the Western one, but compared to the Western one, Mongolian is called the short bow. So I think it's smaller than the Western archery. So you can also see this during the Nadi Festival. So basically what Nadi Festival is, you're going to see these 3 events. Then there's also accompanying them. You see a lot of Mongolian people in their traditional outfits. Then we kind of like fried food for the only festival only. So it's like called koshor. So it's meat and flour, and then it's fried, deep fried. So that's like most of Mongolians eat that food during Nada, and that's we will also have a chance to use that. Okay, so this gift, like why should you visit Nada? Like I mentioned, so we can experience, because this festival is not celebrated for travelers or international travelers or tourists. This is actually celebrated for Mongolians. So we can be a witness to how Mongolians celebrate the festival. So it actually gives a very authentic kind of feeling, because even if no tourists are there, for example during COVID, we still had Nada celebrations, right? So then we can witness the unique sports, the 3 sports that I mentioned, and then food, and then music. There's a lot of dancing and music and festival kind of atmosphere. So this is a very interesting celebration. Okay, the second one we wanted to mention is the Eagle festivals. So, like I said, we have over 20 different ethnic groups, and these are one of them. So these are different from the majority. These are called Kazakh people. So it's quite similar to Kazakhstan people. So I think they share the same heritage. And they live in the far west of Mongolia, and they're really well known for their different customs and traditions. But the most important one is they use golden eagles. They're really large birds, right? And they use them for hunting, for actual hunting in real life. So then Westerns are really fascinated with these customs, because this is, very, very unique, and it's more than 1,000-year-old heritage for these people. So in order to celebrate this special cultural heritage, they do a lot of festivals during the fall, only fall. So we have it in September and in October in the far west. which is about 1,600 kilometers from the capital city, so it's quite far. So we have to take a domestic flight and go there, and you see how whose eagle is best trained for this year. So they would show us how they can call their birds, and the bird come and sit on them, and then they try to grab stuff from the ground and then fight over the prey. So it basically shows whose eagle is the best trained. So Golden Eagle Festival is one in October, and there's After Eagle Festival, which is in September, and then we can also have an opportunity to stay with the eagle hunters for 1 day or 2 days, and we learn about their lifestyle, which is very important because they still live in the Mongolian gears, and they don't have any electricity, they don't have any running water, they don't have any Western toilets, but at the same time, we can actually feel how it would feel to be, eating their food, sleeping in their home, and then waking up, and what kind of activities they do every day. So that is another important, and I think it's quite challenging, but it's a fun experience. So it's one of the things. Okay. Third interesting activity that we can do in Mongolia is visiting the reindeer people in northern Mongolia. So it's another ethnic group in Mongolia, and according to the latest statistics, there's only 400 people in this tribe in the whole country. So it is disappearing really fast because they live in this very cold wooded area on the northern to Russia. So they don't have much interaction with the rest of the world. They do have, sometimes they do have phone, but they don't leave that place. They just live in there. They just, throughout the year, they live in company with their own reindeers, and they have very, very small amount of belongings. So basically, they just have. We actually did this trip in January. So the place we stayed was about from that chair to this wall, this small. That's it for the whole family. There's nothing else. Yeah, there's nothing else. So they don't have a car, they don't have anything, and when they move, they just use their reindeer and move from one place to the next place. And then you cannot reach them by car during the summer, so you have to only ride horses to get there. During the winter, you can reach them by car because during the winter they come to a little closer settlement, and then you go there, and there are about 10 families, and that's it. And there's no kids don't go to university or college, and they just stay there and then continue living this lifestyle. This actually, I don't know, it was actually quite peaceful. Like you don't have to worry about, what we're gonna buy. You don't have to worry about clothes, so you don't have to worry about cars. It's just very simple. You live on the land, and then you're just in harmony with your nature, and it is actually very. I find it very freeing. You don't have to worry about collecting money and all those things. It's just like, but you just think about tomorrow, what kind of weather it will be, and then what we're gonna do for the animals, and that's it. Like it's very interesting experience, and we included this because I've talked with Afra before, and then it is, but this one is for sure very adventure seekers because it is not easy to do this trip because the conditions are really, even for Mongolians, for us it was quite rough, but the reward was just amazing, life-changing experience for me because you just remember, oh wow, you can live so simply instead of having all this stuff in your home, having all this stuff in your mind about having more stuff. When you go there, that's it. That's like one home right there. Nothing else. You don't even need much. You have your family, you have your animals, and then that's it. And you have your nature, and then you just can be very, very simply living there. So this trip can be done in summer, and it can also be done in winter. So we did the winter one, and then for summer, you just have to ride horses for 2 days to get there. So, but it is. Once you decide to do it, it is like when you come back, you're like, wow, okay, this is very different, and this is amazing, and it gives you a chance to step back basically from your body. So this is what I wanted to cover for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. This is a normal, nowadays, because Mongolian nomads, they still have to modernize a little bit because, we're not living cut off from the world. They still have some news and stuff. So as you can see, it's a perfect blend of the traditional lifestyle and Mongolian lifestyle. You can see this is a nomadic family with their animals right here, and then that's the Mongolian traditional yurt that you can all car, right? So now this we have phone, car, television, sometimes the solar panels for electricity, but at the same time you can still see how we used to live about 1,000 years ago. We were still living like nomads, depending on the nature, depending on our lifestyle. So you can see both sides nowadays in most of the homes in Mongolia.
I guess you visit shaman. Can you share about the shaman culture?
Oh yeah, shaman. Okay, so in Mongolia, traditionally, if you go really, really far back, we were actually shamanistic culture. Mongolians believed in the spirit in the blue sky. So we believe all animals have spirits. So that's where we have very strong root in shamanism. But because throughout the history, we had 3 different times Buddhism came into Mongolia. So Mongolia has, most of the people are Buddhists. But we still believe in shamanistic elements in Mongolia, and we have a lot of shamans. And the strongest shamans are actually in the reindeer tribe. So if you go there, you can meet shamans. But even throughout the country, we have a lot of shamans. And what they are basically is they're channeled between this world and to the other world. So they channel the spirits through their own body. And then they bring in this spirit into this world so you can communicate with them. So they have a very special ritual that because you have certain days that you can bring the spirit into this world, and this special kind of ceremony if you are lucky enough to be there, then they can bring in this spirit from other world, or you can ask questions, or fortune telling. So basically, I guess fortune telling. So you can ask about future or any questions you might have, and you can ask about that. Basically. So, sorry, I didn't include any picture of it, but they do have very interesting customs of bringing the spirit. So they have big drum. They have special clothing, and it takes a lot of energy from the shaman itself to welcome the other spirit from the other world. So that is something that we sometimes include in our trips if it's requested.
You brought us some horse meat. So
Yes.
can you share us about the cuisine of Mongolia?
Yeah, that is the interesting thing is because Mongolians, the most respected animal in Mongolia is horse. But at the same time, it is part of our life, so we have to eat it. Because basically, what we used to do in the traditionally was, use these 5 animals: camel, horse, sheep, goat, and cow. Those are the 5 main animals, and we respect them because that's the main reason we're still could live, right? We don't have much vegetation. We don't do any farming in Mongolia. So that's main sustenance for most of the people are those 5 animals. So we respected them very deeply, and we still respect them very deeply. But at the same time, we have to eat them, and we use everything from them. So that's another thing about nomads is from animal, you could use from the head all the way to the toes, whatever. You can use all of it. You have to use all of it. You don't waste anything. So for the skin, we use it for clothes, and then intestines, we eat them, and then the horns, we use it for something else, and then we use it, whole thing you have to use it. We don't let anything go to waste. So that's why we also eat horse, because why I'm explaining it to you is Westerners, they feel like horses are mostly pets, right? Have you guys noticed that in Western countries? It's their pet. And then when they come to Mongolia, they're like, If you love her so much, if you respect her so much, why are you eating it? But then we have to go back to explaining the background. We don't have the luxury of having horses as a pet because this is our main transportation. This is our main sustenance for the winter. That's why we still eat horse meat, but that means we also respect them when we eat it. You know? When you kill a livestock, we have our Mongolian way of doing it, and then we use them. So I brought some horse jerky and also beef jerky, and then we do a lot of dairy products with the milk. Because basically Mongolian traditional meal is dairy and meat. That's it. Nowadays we do have a lot of vegetables and stuff. We grow some in the city. We import most of our stuff from China, but those are our traditional stuff. So we brought some if you want to taste.
Do you eat camel meat?
In the south, it's quite soft and thin. I find. We don't really eat much in the capital because we mostly beef and like sheep, mutton. But we've eaten it before when we go to the Gobi Desert because that's where people usually keep camels and eat it, and it's quite tasty.
What age of the horse you kill them to eat?
So in Mongolia, you do not kill any animal that's typically under 1 year. So that's still considered baby, right? So we do not eat any, lambs. We don't eat any lambs or like real young cows, baby cows. We don't eat those. So any young animal, we traditionally can't eat those. We do have nowadays. We do have chicken and pork, but that's not part of our traditional meal. No. So nowadays, obviously you can find anything basically everywhere, right? Chicken and pork and stuff, but that's not a very no. It's coming from different. We don't eat any fish much. Mongolians don't really like fish. No. Because you can see we're a landlocked country, and we have some rivers where you can fish, and some people eat it around there, but like overall, people don't really like fish. No seafood. Yeah.
Do you use US dollar? Do we bring US dollars?
Yeah, US dollar is the best currency to bring and change it into Mongolian tugur. So 1 USD equals 3,600 Mongolian tugur. For you guys, it's 1 USD is $7,000.
$7.80, something like that.
So for us, it's 3,600. So you'll need to do a lot of counting when you're in Mongolia.
So we change
Yeah.
why we get them. What about data card?
Yeah, you can buy. We usually recommend people to buy the local SIM card, which is cheaper, has better connectivity.
So buy them in Mongolia.
But like I said, the majority of the land is very empty. So unless you're very close to a settlement or village, you don't have any connection.
Yeah, no
Which is great. So we can be off from our phone, right?
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi, no cell phone reception. So there is a nice camp that we like to go out of the city. It's only 1 hour drive, but even just 1 hour drive from the capital, you don't have any connection. So you cannot be on your phone. Digital detox, right? So we don't have it on our phone. So
What can we expect to see in the old capital?
oh yes, the old capital. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of the things got destroyed throughout the years. So the old capital do not have any of the old buildings, except we do have Mongolia's first Buddhist monastery there. So Irkunzo Monastery, that is still. Do you guys know the Soviet purge? So basically, when Soviet Union came into Mongolia, we were never officially part of Soviet Union, but we were part of Soviet Union, if that makes any sense. So everybody in power was from the Soviet Union or their people. So when they came in, Mongolia was a very heavily Buddhist country in the early 20th century. When they came in, They destroyed all the monasteries in Mongolia, all of them. It was very, very. We had so many hundreds of beautiful monasteries, so it was all destroyed. They killed most of the monks, so it was a very dark, like few decades in Mongolia was in 1930s. So because we were so into Buddhism, and they wanted our religion to be the communism. So then they destroyed all monasteries, they killed all the monks, they killed basically everyone who was educated, most of the men. So that's why even the Hindu monastery, the first Buddhist monastery in central Mongolia, which is in the Asian capital, the majority of it was destroyed. They also got rid of most of Genghis Khan's lineage history records, so we cannot trace back to him. So everything was basically destroyed at that time. So, but the history is still there. So when we go to the capital, we can see the monastery and reconstruction of it. And we can also see the visit in museum where they found artifacts throughout the dates back to many thousand years. So you can all see all those artifacts in the museum in the ancient. It's called Panforum, which is established during Genghis Khan's era in Mongolian Empire in 15th century. So you can still see trace back to those histories into that time in that area.
Can the local people communicate in Chinese?
Say what?
Can the local people communicate in Chinese?
Zero.
No, zero.
Zero.
Okay.
Yeah. No. We used to a lot of like my parents' age or a little bit older than them. They used to learn a lot of Russian because we were part of the unofficial part of Russia, so they do speak Russian. But because we were separated from the 1990s, so about 35 years ago, and our generation we do not speak much Russian. We mostly learn English in school, but it is not very widely spoken. Most people speak Mongolian, especially in the countryside. That's why you need a tour guide to communicate. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.有首都啊。佢唯一嘅首都就係烏蘭巴托。So what can we expect to see in the capital?
Traffic jam.
Other countries.
A lot of people. 30%, more than 30% of total population lives in one city. So as you can imagine, it's like very, very crowded. But it is quite modern in some parts, and it is quite not very modern in some parts. So the capital is like this, and in the inner city, it's the modern parts. You see nice fancy buildings, you see fancy people, you see nice restaurants and shops. But then, as soon as you leave that in the outer skirt, we still have it. They still live in yurts, even in the capital. So they live in this kind of even in the capital. In the city center, we do not have any yurts. We only have buildings, apartment buildings. But in the a little bit of traditional kind of living, it is like I mentioned, it's very crowded, but it has a very unique taste because it is a mix of two different time and two different cultures, basically like two different way of living. So when you are here in downtown, you see like maybe certain parts of Hong Kong, right? Maybe not as tall as Hong Kong, but you see like modern buildings, modern people. Then you just drive maybe 2 kilometers, and then you're suddenly in a very different area. The people are different, and then the buildings are different, and the cars are different, the shops are a little different. So it is very, very unique and contrasting feeling there. We have nice museums, we have nice monasteries in the capital. So it is worth seeing. Definitely.
Do they dress in Western style or they wear local costume?
So we always dress in Western. But like I said, if you just drive out a little bit, you see people who are still dressed in traditional outfits. Especially elders, they like to dress in. Because it's very comfortable. Nowadays, young people are also trying to dress more in traditional outfits to, it's kind of a statement, right? We want to respect our heritage and we want it not to go to, we don't want it to die. So we want to also take pride in being a Mongolian, right? Wearing a traditional outfit. Especially during Natin Festival, even us wear traditional outfits. Because it's like kind of a period to be proud to be celebrate things stands for, so it is time where we wear our traditional outfits. You will see a lot of them in the main stadium where the opening ceremony. Like people would wear from the whole family wears, like even from a little baby to the elders, they wear traditional outfits, and it's quite colorful. We were gonna wear it today, but we got a little bit shy. We brought it for the travel show because whenever we go to travel show, we usually bring our traditional outfit, and we were like, should we wear it? It's too, because it's very long, right? And it's very thick, so we're like, it's gonna be too hot if we take the subway. Everybody's gonna be looking at us. We just decided not.
Is it rainy season now? No. So
Don't-
July, there's not much heavy rain.
No. I mean, in central Mongolia times, but Mongolia is very, very, very dry. And we had snow maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So we could still have snow. Last year, we got snow in June 21st. So it is very, very, the weather is like sometimes it's suddenly up, suddenly down, and it's very dry and contrasting. So
How cold do you expect?
when you go
July.
in July, July is fine. Like maybe 15 degrees during the night in the countryside, 25ish during the day. Not like this hot. This was hot. Today we got up from it and we came out and we couldn't believe how hot it was. It's too hot. Yeah, Mongolia is nice. Like sometimes it's a little bit too cold.
Degrees is very comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable. Sometimes we do have a little bit of rain, but in all, Mongolia is very dry and very, very shiny, like sunny. Over 250 days of sunshine, so it is always very sunny. Winters are really, really cold.
Is it humid or dry?
Dry.
Yeah, very dry. In the winter, it's about minus 20, 25 during the day. Minus 35. Yeah. You get used to it. That's why we eat a lot of meat, red meat. We need a lot of energy, right? We need a lot of protein to keep ourselves warm. So we eat a lot of meat during the winter.
Does tourists get to participate in the Nadam experience?
Ooh, not in the city, no. We have it in like every province and every little village. So if you go to the countryside Natin Festival, you can sometimes a little bit. But it is, like I mentioned, they prepare for it all year, and it's mostly professionals that do it. So it is, quite. Sometimes I see people when they're in a really small Natin Festival. I see travelers, are invited to try out the wrestling, for example. But that's mostly about it. Usually it's kids, you cannot do it.
Not even archery.
Actually, you can try it, but you cannot enter the competition. You can definitely try it, yes. In one of the camps that we're going to go this for Natin Festival, we have archery there. So you can just shoot it, and they can show you how to shoot it. And you can ride horse. But yeah, the official, the travel or the event, it's for professionals. Because there is a big prize for them if they win it, right? And it's a big honor.
Their own qualification, right?
Yeah.
Đại家仲有啲咩想問？ Yes, that's it.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.